Hi, I'm Bobbie Collies from Coterie Insurance, and this is the Future of Insurance Live from ITC Vegas.
Hi, Bobbie. How are you doing?
Hi, Bryan. I'm great.
It's
Thanks.
good to sit down with you.
Yes, it's been too long.
It's been too long for us, and for anyone who's watched the show over the life of it, it's been too long for Coterie as well. We had David McFarland on, I don't know, 2 years, 7 years, I have no sense of time anymore, but early on in the Coterie journey, before you had joined.
Yeah.
And so I thought, we're both here. What a great time to hear kind of an update on the story of Coterie and where things stand.
Yeah.
But before that, who are you? And
Yes.
let's dig into Coterie.
Yes. So my current role at Coterie is Chief Insurance Officer. My team's pretty diverse. So I have underwriting, claims, all of growth, so sales, marketing, as well as our servicing team. So half the operations as well as compliance.
It's a huge role.
Yeah. So it's
That's awesome.
all insurance things that
Yeah.
aren't like back office finance, and then our tech and our data team sit under a different leader. Yeah.
And your background is on the distribution side, right?
Yeah.
For carriers.
So I actually started out in commercial lines underwriting.
Okay.
I spent about a decade doing that. And then I was at Secura when they asked me to do a strategic research project for their senior leadership team on how is technology going to impact the independent agency channel.
Okay.
And that's when I was like, okay, I've done this underwriting thing for 10 years. This is cool. This is where things are going. And that's where I met Ben and Ilya when it was just the two of them, and they had this idea of Bull Penguin.
Yeah.
And look at what they are today,
Yeah.
right? So that's when I started to transition my career more towards distribution, growth, marketing. And about 2.5 years ago, I joined Coterie because I saw a big opportunity to help them scale.
One of the things I loved about when I had David on and we were talking about it and sort of foundational was when you said what is technology and the internet and digitization, the impact on the agent channel. The early read on that was always didn't you hear agents are going to be gone in 15 minutes? And that had nothing to do with David's story at all. It was about actually empowering them, making their life easier, giving them better products to sell at better prices, more accurate for the risk, with less work, bringing in third-party data. And it was a very pro-agent story.
Yeah.
And then I talked to agents who had it completely the same story to tell.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It's not just the founder selling something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You came in with this carrier and distribution mindset. What have you found, and how has that evolved?
Yeah. So, what was fun is when I first came on board, we would take any agent that would come to us, right?
Yeah.
We were desperate just to get distribution in that very early stage.
Yeah.
We molded it into a distribution strategy, which I like to call the one-to-many, right? So we really started focusing on wholesale networks, larger brokers that were doing M&A.
Yeah.
So we weren't constantly doing all of the recruiting of new producers into our ecosystem.
Yeah.
That since has grown to, I think we've onboarded over 40,000 producers since
But in a
Coterie.
more scalable way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we just signed some big national contracts as well. So the next year is looking pretty bright,
Yeah.
Ryan. Yeah, we're pretty excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know for the early approach, I ran a distribution team. It's hard not to try to get everyone you can get, and you want the business and it's sort of scattergun. But then you look around, it's we got one policy here, we got one policy there. Those aren't relationships. Those are probably accidental.
Yep.
Did they genuinely mean to give you that one policy? But
Yeah.
what about everything else? And it's really hard. It's like a drug. It's how do you not keep doing, how do you cut agents off, or how do you decide this isn't viable?
Yeah.
When you've got it and you don't want to lose it, and there's it's a scary kind of decision-making process. What was it a clear we must do this to succeed, or was too much work, or what drove the finally yes, we need to make this shift?
Yeah. It was just our cost of acquisition. Yeah. We had a lot of people running around to various big eye trade shows and the PIA, right?
Yeah.
Shows, and so they would go and they get business cards, and we fill the top of the funnel. It was way too much work, and we weren't going to be able to scale quickly enough.
Yeah.
Based on our business model, so we shifted towards that, and actually right now we're kind of in this new strategic review of our current partnerships because we have enough data.
Yeah.
So now we understand the demographics of an agent that will do well with us versus won't. We have more data to understand, who has a higher expense ratio for us based on how much servicing calls that we're getting from their agents and their producers. So now we're just getting to the point where we can start to refine and understand like what are minimum expectations for that best partner. And then also the real fun part is understanding when we need to use a human touch versus a digital touch to keep producers engaged. That's just starting to bear some fruit, and we're getting more insights to be able to understand like where should we use our people and where can we be heavy tech and balance those appropriately.
Is that like personalized or individualized decision, or is that a general like in these situations it should be a person and these should be digital, or like that agent in that situation?
Yeah. So right now it's more generalized, but I think we're going to get there, and maybe quicker than I would predict.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super fun.
So you said it's like positive and exciting time.
Yeah.
Why? What's going on?
So we're about to turn the corner. So you might have recalled we did a raise earlier this year.
Yeah.
And that raise got us to the point where we're going to turn the corner and just be in the black very soon. So any future fundraising is going to be just opportunistic.
Situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very, very different situation.
Yeah.
So we're doing some things right now to add to our product suite. So just enhancing our current products that we have, and kind of clean up some of that foundational policy lifecycle stuff that we've neglected a bit, right? Just as we scaled.
Yeah.
And now that we have the ability to do that, really building us more solid foundation so we can 2x, 3x over the next few years. Yeah.
So your product suite, it's small commercial focused primarily, right?
Yep.
Or is it?
It's very micro. Yeah. So our average premium per policy is about $1,800 now.
Okay.
When I joined, it was like $800. So yeah, we've gone up market a bit,
but it's still a smaller. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's good business. Small business is beautiful.
It's great.
Yeah.
Our loss ratio is fantastic. So we just went through our renewal with our carrier partners and our reinsurers.
Yeah.
We got really great terms.
No one says right now.
Yes. Yeah. So our loss ratio and just the way we do business is really playing in our favor.
Because you're set up as an MGA. Correct?
Yep. Yep. So we're a digital MGA set up like a full stack carrier. So we do all of our own rates, filings, forms. We, handle our own claims with the exception of a TPA that we have do some of the more routine claims.
Yeah.
But most everything we have the pen, we're controlling. Obviously with influence from our carrier partners and reinsurers. But yeah.
And lines of business in the current portfolio, what do they look like?
So we have a BOP, a GL, and a professional product, basically like miscellaneous professional. I think those product lines will continue, and we'll continue to enhance those over the next year. We're considering like what's the next big thing. We're tossing around, non-admitted. That could be a very interesting play for us, especially the way we're set up.
Yeah.
And then, the obvious lines of business, except for commercial auto. All of our partners
when
want
you say
auto.
obvious and auto. Audio. What lines are those to you? But it's so not commercial auto.
Yeah, commercial auto, and then I think just getting capacity is going to be difficult for us, as well as anything heavy property, based on all of the things that are going on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, so how do you solve then for if you have an account that you want to serve and broker wants to put the business with you, but you don't have a product for it? Is that a partnership model, or is just like, no, we know our bounds, and so that's just not what we do?
Yeah, I mean, we know our bounds, which is great, which is also why we're working
everyone does.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Well, and it's also why we're working with independent agents, because they don't need us to cover all of their needs, right? And then, we're trying to move up market as these small businesses grow, and some of them will keep up with, and some of them will outgrow us, but our agent will find a different home for them with the proper coverage that they need. Yeah.
But you don't feel that pressure that if we can't meet all of their growing exposures, they're going to move to a carrier who would put it all together and maybe get favorable pricing? Like, is that, I know it's more of a personal lines issue than commercial lines, but is that a pressure that you guys would feel?
No, because we're growing and scaling so quickly on our current product suite, it's not something I worry about. I think it's an opportunity, right, for us to be able to start to bundle some things and move up market, but that changes our risk profile, right? And so we'll have to do a few things differently in the underwriting model that we have once we start to get up market with those larger risks.
Yeah. Can I ask you a tech question?
Yeah.
I don't think I got into this with David, and I probably should have, but build versus buy has come up all day, and it was largely talking to traditional players. Like, as a startup, I think a lot of people just automatically presume like, oh, they built all their own tech.
Yeah.
Is it like, what's your mix between things that you all created in-house versus outsourced or work with partners on? And what I'm getting at is like, why would you be here?
Yeah.
Are you shopping? Are you looking around? Is it relationships? Like, so sort of the first is that mix of build versus buy for Coterie.
We are much heavier build versus buy.
Yeah.
There's like, there's some things where it just makes a lot more sense to buy because it will take us forever to build, right? Some of our data partners, like, we're not going to build that. Like, we're just going to use them. Our primary focus for this week was ideas, right? Yeah. So innovation, just like ideation, like what's going on out there, just so we have a pulse on the market. But quite frankly, like, we have a lot of our agents that are here. So it's a very good relationship building conference for us just to be here, have everybody together in one place, be able to nurture those relationships and have some strategic conversations on how do we grow together next year, because the timing's really good for planning.
Yeah, they're just getting into planning and budgeting and all that. Yeah. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. It's a battery. Try that again. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot of like, should people try to sell to you while you're here? There's plenty of that going on. But I was curious, I wasn't thinking about the agent side. So there's a whole agent event going on within the event.
Yeah.
But there is some agent tech here. Not a ton, but there is.
Yeah.
But I was curious, is it inspiration, networking, et cetera?
I mean, I've watched around a little bit. Yeah. In some areas, I'm trying to understand, value proposition and those types of things. So I need a little bit more time to dig in. I'm hoping that I'll get some more time tomorrow. But today was definitely a relationship build. It actually beats me flying all over the country to meet with all these partners.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of coming to Las Vegas, but it's really hard not to do this because of like, you can't see this many people that you need to see all at once.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I come here for work.
Yes. Yeah. It's really cool to see some of the players that I think were built from the right starting place, not a place of like, insurance people are stupid, they do everything wrong.
Yeah.
We know better, we'll solve it. To see those players are still around. You get, like you said, you're very close to turning the corner on profitability. Like, I love that story because it's a reminder that we as an industry can be super innovative with our people who are actually, like, David's an actuary. Like, we're our own people. We can be smart and intelligent. We're not dinosaurs that, like, it's actually really hard stuff.
Yeah.
So to see the journey you all have been on and some of that evolution of distribution and, like, can you be with every agent in a really small way, or do you have to be more kind of strategic about it? Like, it's cool to see how that story has played out, and then you guys are still here and doing well. Yeah.
Well, what's fun about our story too is, like, if you think 7-8 years ago, I feel like that's forever ago now. The big buzzword was
through a lot. 7 or 8 years. Yeah, I think that's fair.
But the big buzzword was API. Do you remember that? Yeah. So just finally, am I in a position where more than 50% of our business is coming through API connections from a distribution standpoint, right? I don't know, like, I haven't kept tabs on the legacy carriers I used to work with, but I would bet that they're not even close to being at 10%.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And now we're just more efficient. We drop the P and it's just AI. Like, we move right on to it is clearly the buzzword to end all buzzwords. I said, like, no one's talking about it embedded like they were last year.
No.
But AI, I imagine, being so data focused and like intelligence around that AI is a common conversation within the virtual walls of Coterie as well.
Yeah.
Does it feel like a buzzword? Does it feel like something you guys are living, or like
we're living it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were using some like ML stuff when we were partnering with our third-party data partners very early on.
Yeah.
Just trying to understand like who has the most accurate data. Yeah. Based on the inputs we were getting, and then also like agent override of fields, that kind of stuff. But now, like, our data science team, there's a significant portion of that team that's focused on Gen AI, working on our chatbot, working on, basically enhancing our data model to be more proprietary versus outsourced. And we're doing some pretty cool things too, just around like how can we enhance our servicing experience, both for our agents and for our policyholders. And a lot of work has gone into that because we basically built a almost fixed cost model. I'm not going to say it's completely fixed cost, but we've been able to scale pretty significantly over the last 15 months with the same headcount that we've had. Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's super cool.
Yeah. I could dig into more of the story all day because I'm both interested and curious, but also excited to see, like I said, like a success story born from insurance people, like trying to make insurance better. It's a nice kind of microcosm of what we should all be striving for. And it's great that you've gotten to be a part of it, and you've grown in the role as well. So congratulations
Thank
to
you.
and the Coterie.
Yeah, we're super excited. We have a pretty bright future ahead, and I'm just excited to work with our agents in a more meaningful way because we'll be able to invest more and focus more on how do we strategically grow together versus just rushing towards, scaling as fast as we can to get to cash flow break even.
Yeah.
So it's completely changing the dynamics of our culture as well as like how our partnerships are going to look and be nurtured as we move forward. So it's definitely a new line in the sand from a maturity standpoint that we're excited to cross. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I would keep talking to you, and there's now an Elvis impersonator belting out some kind of tunes here in Vegas. So maybe that's our signal. But
that's our
so
signal.
much for the time, Bobbie.
Yes. Thanks, Bryan. It was so great.